get started. All right, there we go. All right, so we are going to explore the LDRS Eclipse dies. All right, so I have the butterfly Eclipse dies here, and there are four different Eclipse dies from LDRS. All right, that we got in. Now I know a lot of you have been looking for Eclipse dies. There is a UK company that has these, but unfortunately we cannot get them direct. All right. There's a store in Canada that has the North American rights of reselling these. She's the only one that has them. So I'm so happy that LDRS um, has now produced Eclipse dies so that we can all take advantage of getting them in our hot little hands. All right, so like I said, there are four different designs. This is the butterfly one. There is a torn rectangle kind of shape. There's an inverted corner rectangle and an inverted corner square. All right, so all of them are still available on our website. And I'm going to show you how to use the butterfly today because that's the one that I have here. All right, so I'm going to show you this. And then they came out with what they use, and these are transfer sheets. All right, so they're like rub-ons, but not so much. The best way I can describe these are they're like the lick 'em stick 'em tattoos that we used to have, or our kids used to have, and where you had an image, you would peel the backing off, you would stick it onto your skin, you would saturate the skin with a wet cloth, or the saturate the backing of the transfer with a wet cloth, and then you would pull the backing off and the image would be transferred onto your skin. They lick 'em, stick 'em tattoos, as I call them. These work the same way. We've seen these in the past from companies like Dress My Crafts. Now, LDRS has these really beautiful floral images. They have three different designs, and I'm going to go through what you get in a pack in a second. All right, so I have the watercolor florals here. There is a Serafina one and another one. I can't remember, but the florals are gorgeous in there. All right. So that's what I'm going to start off with to show you. Now, this is kind of the effect what Eclipse dies do. All right. So we're going to have that main shape, but then we have all these little kind of strips cut inside. All right. So it gives you that eclipse image. All right. So that's what we're going to be showing you how to do. But I love this because it doesn't just work with these. All right. These are wonderful and they go hand in hand, but you can also use them with rub-ons, which is awesome. So I'm going to show you a couple cards with rub-ons here, but you can also use them with pattern papers and stamped images. All right. But that's kind of your own thing. These would be great for like scenery stamped images that you can build up. But I'm going to show you with the transfers and the rub-ons because these are really simple to do. All right. So, okay, so let's just talk about the sample here. All right, so you'll notice that it is raised up. So we will have to cut multiple shapes of this. All right, so it is handy to have a low tack tape. All right, so you're going to need that because in the die set, there are two dies. There is the outer die. All right, and then the inset die. And we want everything to match up. So we're going to be holding those two dies together. So that's why you want the tape, all right? So there are two different ways that you can do this. And I'm going to show you both ways, but there's one way that you're going to get more bang for your buck in terms of your images. And it is a little bit more time consuming, but you're going to make your images go that much further, all right? So I'm going to show you the first way, which is using two images, and then doo-doo. Okay, I think I got it. All right, do not disturb is on all the time. I always forget that. All right, so let me just get this back in view here. All right, sorry about that. All right, so I'm going to show you the first way. Now what was I saying now? Oh my gosh, totally got distracted. All right. Um, We're just gonna go for it. All right. So the thought will come back to me. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna recreate this. So we're gonna do the aqua transfers because I really want to show you this. So in the pack of the aqua transfers, you're gonna get 10 transfer sheets. All right. You're gonna get two each of the 5 designs. All right. Now on each sheet, you are going to get 2 images, and the reason being that is for the first technique I'm going to show you, all right, where you need 2 images, all right. I'm going to bring, actually, I'll just open this up so that you can see this one. All right. So basically, like I said, you have 10 sheets in here, and you're going to get 2 sheets of each design, and each sheet has 2 designs or 2 of the images on there. All right. So there's the first one, and then we have that one. And then we have that one. Beautiful, aren't they? This one. And then finally that one. Okay, so that is the watercolor florals. So I'm just going to start with one. I just picked one of my panels here. So for the first technique, you're going to need 2 images. All right, so 2 images that are the exact same. All right, so let me just put everything to the side because I really want to work with my aqua transfers and water here. So you're going to need cardstock. Now it is recommended, because you're playing with water, you could use watercolor paper. I'm just using my regular white cardstock. Now this is a heavyweight cardstock. This is 110 pound. That's what I'm going to use. And I will tell you, I have never done this yet. I've watched videos on it. I've watched Angie from LDRS show me how to do this. This is my first time doing it. So either it's going to go really well or there's going to be learn from my mistakes. All right. All right. So we have our aqua transfers. Now there is a release sheet here. All right. That is a release sheet that we will be peeling off and then placing this down onto our paper. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and just trim this in half. All right. So all right, I could use my paper trimmer. It doesn't really matter. I just use my scissors. All right. So because we're going to be doing this with both images, I just started with a 4¼ by 5½ inch panel, so a regular A2 panel, and I'm going to peel off the release sheet. Now this is going to be somewhat sticky where the image is, all right? Now, the corners will be okay, but where the image is going to be sticky, so I try not to position my fingers or pick it up there. I'm just going to take the corner. I'm going to take this now, and I'm going to lay this kind of in the center, all right, as best I can, all right, something like so. All right, so that one's on there, and I'm going to do the same thing with the second one. I'm going to take that release sheet off. I'm going to be very careful where I'm picking it up because I don't want to touch that image. All right, so the corners are safe, and I'm going to go ahead and place that in the center as well. Now I'm going to make sure there's no debris, dust, or anything on I'm just doing a little quick wipe down. If you have a little brush, you can do that. And I'm just going to center that on there as best I can. All right, so we got those on there. And this is where the water comes into place. All right, so I do recommend having a cloth handy. I did have one here. And you need water with this, all right? So not a light spritz or anything. You need water. So I'm just going to bring in my Mega Mister here, or Mighty Mister from Spellbinders here. And you really want to then spray the back of this, all right? So I'm going to kind of concentrate that spray on the image, all right? All right, so, okay, so I'm going to let that sit. All right, it's going to take a few minutes to work its magic. You want that water to saturate that backing. So I'm just going to clean up my work here. And this is why, you know, watercolor paper would work because it's going to allow that water. I'm going to just dab up my edges here where I got maybe excess water. I'm going to take a heat tool with this as well, just to dry that paper, because we will be needing, I got cat hair everywhere. Ah! I'll take a heat tool. Sorry, I'm laughing because there's cat hair everywhere. I don't know if the camera's picking up on that, but there is. Obviously, my cat must have been laying on this cloth. Um, Okay, I've just dabbed up that. I'm going to take a heat tool to this to make sure everything is dry, because one of these we will be die cutting, and die cutting wet paper is not recommended. All right, so we're going to let it do its thing. All right, and in the meantime, I'm going to now skip to the second technique. All right, so I'm going to prep another one just so that I have things ready. All right, so this is going to be for technique number 1. Then I'm going to move on to technique number 2. So I'm going to do the aqua transfers again. So I'm just going to grab another image. Now this one will only use one image. All right, so I'm going to cut this one in half and kind of do the same thing. I'm going to take that top release sheet off, and then very carefully, handling it by the corners, I'm going to place this face down onto my paper. Okay, and then again, we're going to get the Mighty Mister here. And I'm just moving that water kind of around so that it hits that image. Okay, and then I'm just going to dab with my cat hair covered cloth. Make it to the inside here, and I'm going to just dab the edges here to take off the excess water, and we're going to let that sit. All right, so this is for technique number 2, but I also want to show you that technique number 2 with rub-on. So we're going to go ahead and prep our paper for that one as well. So I have a couple of different, I'm going to do 2 rub-ons here. All right, so I have 2 sets here that I just picked off the shelves. One is from Art and Creative. I love, love, love their products. All right, so this is from the Laurel Grove collection. All right, you're going to get 4 sheets in here. You're going to get 2 of this one and 2 of that one. All right, and then I'm also going to use these. Oh, maybe I'll do these ones as well. I don't know. I just picked up some rub-ons. These ones are from Spellbinders. And I want to say Create Happiness is the name of it. I don't have the packaging here for some odd reason. I'm not quite sure. These are brand new. And these are the images here. All right, so they're fun. And then I had also Beautifully Imperfect, but maybe I won't use that one. I'll just use these 2. All right, so let's go ahead and prep these ones. So Beautifully Imperfect. Let's do, I like the balloons here because I have some extra balloons here. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut those out. So we're going to do the balloons. So if you've never worked with rub-ons before, they are just awesome. They are so much better than they used to be from back in the day. So I just go around and do a kind of a rough cut of the rub-on shape, the one that I want. So we're going to do the balloons. Okay, and then I'm going to take some of these loose balloons as well, these single individual ones. Now, you don't have to be, I'm being very precise about cutting these. I don't know why. It doesn't really matter, but I am. You don't need to be. I don't know if I need all of them, but I am going to trim all of these out. Maybe this one I'll do as one. All right, so there is our balloons for one. And then I'm going to grab the other pack of rub-on transfers, and let's pick a nice floral from this one. I love these ones from Art and Creative. This is from the Katie Petite Laurel Grove, like I said, because you get 2 sheets of each. So you could do technique number 1 with this because you do have the 2 images, but I'm going to go ahead and select, I think I'm going to go with the which one do I want? I'm going to do a little collage action here, I think. So I'm going to pick one of each sheet here. All right, I'm going to build up my collage on here. Now those are probably ready to go, but I'm just going to continue on here. So I'm going to just build up. This is the beauty of rub-ons, because rub-ons will go on top of rub-ons, and you can really build a nice collage-y kind of look. So I'm going to take our little color swatch here, and then, okay, I'm going to go with this floral here. And I think I want a couple of these little splotchy pieces in the background. So let's, I think we need a little bit of color in there. So let's bring in, I'm going to bring in this one here. Okay, so we're going to start with this. This is going to be kind of our, now the butterfly will be kind of over top of this image. So I want to make sure that that is in the center here, but I'm going to play around with some of these rub-ons, and I'm going to use my die cut machine to apply these. So I'm just going to do kind of a splotchy one up here. I will trim down this panel afterwards. So let's do that. And then we can do maybe this one down here. And then I have this one. So let's put this kind of in here. And then this one here. Now, when you do this, you want to make sure that you don't have your rub-ons kind of overlapping. All right, so I don't have anything overlapping. This is my first layer. So I'm going to go ahead and run that through my die cut machine. Let's just straighten that one out a little bit. All right, and the pressure of your die cut machine will be enough for the rub-ons to transfer over, which I love. So I'm just going to do that off camera. You'll hear my machine. It is the regular sandwich that you would do for die cutting. Usually one time is enough for that. If you don't want to use your die cutting machine, you can definitely use a popsicle stick and do, or whatever tool, bone folder, to do the rubbing on top. But I love using the die cut machine because you get perfect all the time. Now I still, when I take the backing off, I still go slow just in case something did not. But honestly, the die cut machine is like just a wonderful tip to use with rub-ons. All right, so look how beautiful they go. All right, so that is my first layer. And now I'm going to go ahead and do my floral on top, because that's where we're going to be doing the die cutting of our Eclipse die. So I'm going to take this now, and let's go ahead and position. I want some overlapping action going on here. All right, so right about there. All right, so now we're doing rub-ons on top of rub-ons. All right, so some of it is going to go, and this is the beauty of rub-ons. They do work over top of each other. Again, I'm going to run it through my die cut machine. Okay, and let's pull that off. Now I still go careful when I pull it off, just in case nothing transferred over, but it's looking fantastic. These rub-ons are just awesome. All right, so we've got a nice little collaged panel here. All right, so that one's done, ready to go. So I'm just going to put that to the side. Let's grab our balloon one and get this one ready as well. All right, I just noticed my paper here is not the cleanest, so let me just grab a new one. Okay, so again, we're going to have our balloons. So this is kind of where our butterfly is going to be on. So I'm going to have them kind of closer to the bottom. And then I might have to do this in two. Then we're going to have these kind of balloons floating up. So let's put that one. And then I'll go back and do my other one. All right, let's do that through the machine. All right, take the backings off. Oh, this one's really stuck on there. Look how beautiful. Ah, you know, back in the day, do you remember the rub-ons back in the day? They were hit and miss, man. Oh my gosh, like nothing was more frustrating when you were working on a card or a layout and you were using rub-ons and then you went to do them and this is too big, so I'm gonna have to cut this in half. And you know, half of it would transfer and the other half wouldn't, and you would try to kind of rub and it just never. Oh, that was just so frustrating. All right, so I think. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. I might even put a saying up there because this one had sayings. So I think this one had sayings. All right, so there's my image. Lovely. So little tip when you are doing your rub-ons, don't touch the image, the backside that you're placing on the paper because it will transfer onto your finger. That's what happened to my balloon up here. You'll see that there's a little notch out of it. It stuck to my finger. All right. So just be careful when you're handling the rub-ons. You need to be gentle with them as well. All right. So let me just I just want to do a sentiment real quickly on this one. Have the happiest day ever. That's not going to fit. Especially for you, is going to fit nicely. So I'm going to cut this little sentiment out. We might as well have that all ready to go. So again, being careful. And I'm just going to place this. Look straight. It's on there. All right. Okay. We have now 4 panels ready to go. Now, I don't know if I'm going to do each of these on camera. I'm going to show you the first technique. I'm going to show you the second technique. There we go, especially for you. And then I'll finish the rest of them off camera because as you'll see. All right, so we got our rub-ons ready. We've got our 2 images that are the same, and then our one image from the aqua transfers. All right, so let's go to our first 2 images here, and we should be able to pull this off now. All right, so you want to go slow. All right, and it should transfer beautifully, and it has. All right, so this will be a slimy surface here. Just toss that. You are going to want to take a paper towel, a clean rag, and then just, there's some excess moisture there. I'm just going to wipe it, and then look how beautiful that transferred. Oh, gorgeous. All right, so I'm going to pull the backings. You don't need to wait as long as I did on here. All right, that was just me getting my prep work done, but they transferred beautifully. All right, so again, really nice and slow when you pull it up. If there is a piece that did not transfer, you're just going to lay that backing piece down and add a little bit more water. Use your finger to push that water kind of into that backing sheet, and you should be good. So I'm just picking up the excess moisture that's on there. And look how beautiful. I mean, the brightness of those are just awesome. All right. Oh, I got a piece of cat hair underneath one of them. I can see it in there. I don't know. Oh, the darn cats. All right, there, it's in there. Do you see it? There we go. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Now I'm going to pull this one. And again, just go very, very slowly pulling that off. Beautiful. All right. So really easy to work with. Okay, now I said I was going to use a heat tool with this. Now, you want to be very careful when you use a heat tool to keep your heat moving, all right? Don't leave your heat tool in one area because you don't want to melt or your transfers or do anything weird with it, all right? I'm not sure if they will melt, but always keep your heat tool moving. So I am going to heat from the back, and really I am just really concentrating on my edges where the excess water was sprayed, all right? Now notice I started in the back and then I just very quickly moved to the front. Okay, so our transfers are ready to go. And look how lovely they are. Oh, so nice. All right, so now we're going to do our die cutting. So let's get our die. And like I said, there are two pieces to this die. You're going to have your outer butterfly or your outer shape, and then your main eclipse. All right, so there is that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to tape these together. All right. Well, you know what? First one I'm not going to tape together. Sorry. I'm just thinking there's actually three ways that you can do this now. I'm just thinking now ahead. So, all right, so let's find the two images that are together. All right, so one of these is going to be our base image and one of this is going to be my top image. All right, so I'm going to go, I'm just taking the Eclipse die. Now you could do this two ways. You could actually do the together, all right, which would then die cut an exact shape from the panel, all right, but I'm just going to inset I'm just going to take my inset die and lay it on top. All right. So that is what I'm going to do for my first one. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and just lay that down. If you feel like you want to tape that down so you can get perfect positioning, I want to kind of center this. And I do have it a bit of an angle. All right. So I'm just going to just very carefully tape this down so it doesn't move when I put it on my die cut machine. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and die cut this out now, okay? Now, those transfers will die cut beautifully. Because the nature of this design, I am going back and forth in my die cut machine just to make sure all those strips are cut well. I'm assuming one pass would be enough, but because this is thicker cardstock, I don't want to take that chance. So I can see that it die cut beautifully. All right, so I'm going to take this off, and now we can pop all these little in these pieces out. All right. So again, this is technique number one, where you need to have two images. Okay. So I popped them all out. You do not need these pieces for technique number 1. All right. So now we've got this beautiful, and you could actually back this up onto, glitter paper, pattern paper, or cardstock, and just have it like this. What we're going to do is we're going to lay this down so that it just kind of goes right over top. All right. But we're going to pop this up. All right. So we're going to get that kind of um, layered look. All right. So this is using the 2 images. Now I'm going to trim this down. And these actually matched up really, really well. For me, I could not get a better match there, I think. Ta-da, look at that. That is beautiful. So I'm going to, that is perfect there, but I want to pop this up. So do I want to trim it down first and then, sorry, I am thinking, all right, I'm going to trim this down. So this one here first, I'm going to trim this down to, can I get, well, we're going to try to trim it to 3 3/3. Yeah, I can do 3 3/4 by 5. All right, so I just took a 1/4 inch off of each of the sides. Okay. I need a new blade on there. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up on top of this one and layer it on, and then I'll trim the base down a little bit. All right, so it's really easy to line up. You just got to find, like, I used a little stem here, all right, to line up. And then, it went together really, really nice. And if you don't have it perfect, it's okay, as long as it's almost perfect, right? So, okay, let's go ahead. I'm going to grab some foam adhesive, and I'm going to go ahead and pop this up. So, like I said, this is one way that you can do it with using 2 of the same images. I think I need a small one there. All right. Okay. So again, you want to get this down. I'm going to use that reference point of that stem. All right. And that went down really good. All right. So now we get that dimension and that shadowing, which really is awesome. That's what makes it so unique. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this. I'm going to square this up, this back panel now, and then mount it on a piece of white. All right. So I'm just going to do that off camera, finish it up, but you get that effect. All right. So again, I'm just going to trim this base piece to 4 by 5 1/4, and then mount it again on white. All right. To give you, add a few gems, maybe a little sentiment, and that one's done. All right. So that's the kind of the easy way of doing the Eclipse dies in terms of using 2 images. It's a little bit less cumbersome as the next one I'm going to show you. All right, so there is technique 1. All right, now the next technique is the one that we are using only 1 image with. All right, so for this here, I'm going to do kind of the second way that you can use these dies, which is kind of more or less this way, where we have that die cut butterfly. This one here, we just use the inside. All right, we still get that outline debossed kind of look on the edge. So we can still see that butterfly, but it's not a particular shape cut out where we've just done it on the full panel. All right. So, so we're going to do this one. This is where you need to tape your two together. So I'm going to grab my outside die and then my inset die. All right. And we're going to tape them together. And the reason being is that we have to do kind of a couple of cuts to create that dimension. We're not going to use foam adhesive to create that dimension. We're going to, I'm going to get bigger pieces of tape here because those are too finicky to play around with. It'd be too finicky to put all those foam adhesives behind this. So I'm just going to tape these dies together with a low tack tape. Okay, so those are done. That is done. Then I'm going to take my panel that we've done, and we're going to go ahead and place our butterfly on there. Now we still need the back panel, and we still need what is cut out of here. So all those little strips that are going to cut out, we need to keep. All right, and this is where I say it's a little bit more cumbersome, but it makes your imagery go down, further. All right, so so again, I'm happy with that. Where that is, I'm going to put this in my die cut machine. And I'm just going to angle that just ever so slightly. Okay, let's go ahead and cut that. And again, I'm going to go back and forth. All right, so there is that. And then on my cutting thing is the butterfly here has been die cut out and all the strips are still in there. I'm going to leave it on there. I'm going to do my best that I can take this off and hopefully those strips hold in there nicely. And then what I'm going to do now with this still cut, I'm going to die cut 2 more butterflies, all right, with the strips, all right? So I'm going to go, that's why we wanted to keep that taped. I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 more butterflies. Oh, I had 2 pieces of cardstock there. No wonder it was like it's like, why is my machine sounding so horrible? It's because I have 2 pieces. That's not good. All right. Okay, so we have 2 butterflies just on white cardstock that we just cut with our both dies there. And now we're going to put this all together. I have yuckies on my hair, on my, what does not happen here? Okay. All right, so I'm going to trim down this one here for my card panel. All right, so let's grab another piece of white cardstock for our card front. All right, and we're going to trim this down just ever so slightly. I like doing white and white, so I like to have that little bit of a border. So I am just going to trim this ever so slightly. I probably went just a little too much here. I should have angled that just a little bit more, but we got it like right down to the little bit here. Okay. So this here is going to go onto my I cut it a little too short, but that's okay. We'll make it work. All right, so this now is going to get placed on my base here. I did cut that a little too short. That's okay. We will make it work. Okay, let's go ahead and glue that down. Let's get on with it. So I am just going to kind of frame it in on my A2 panel here. And I will square everything up because I did cut this a little wonky. All right, but that is on. I really need to get a new blade for my paper trimmer. All right, but that is on. All right, so I'll square that up, but that is on. All right, then what we're going to do is we are going to now pop these guys out. Tweezers. All right, these are on the plain ones. All right. We do not need to keep the insides of this one. All right, so we want both of those. And again, I'm using 110-pound cardstock, so I've got some nice thickness to this. All right, what we're going to do is we are going to now glue these together. And this is where we're going to create that dimension, all right, because we're not using foam. And then a fine line glue is going to be your friend here, because now you can do little spots of glue here and there to hold these guys together. And always, like I always say, you know, the first one you always do is kind of the awkward one, all right? But once you start making more of these, it's going to become easier and much less awkward. All right, so those are, so you want to match them up. That's why I want to keep our dies together with the tape, because now these are exactly the same. All right, so now we've got our dimension here. And now what we're going to do with this one is we're going to glue this one on top, but now we need to poke these out. So I will just poke them out, and then I'm going to lay them in the same way they're coming out. So I start on one side and then lay them the way they should be, because we're going to inset these back in. All right. It's kind of be like a little puzzle. But like I said, the first time you do this one, it's going to be the awkward, because it seems so, you know, you're doing the unknown type of thing, right? It's your first time doing it. But the second time you do a card like this, it's going to go much quicker. All right. Trust me. All right. Okay. All right. So I have them all out. And now you don't want to sneeze. Those are all. And now I'm going to take this piece and we're going to glue it on top of our other one. Okay, so that's going to go right on top. And again, you want to just, I do recommend using liquid glue. Obviously, this is like fine lines that you got to put on, but in case you don't get things lined up, you have that moment or two to shimmy it. So now we have 3 butterflies put together. All right, all matchy match. All right, now this piece here, we can go ahead and now lay it back into our butterfly that's on our card front here. Sorry. All right, so we're going to go ahead and glue that down. All right, so that's just going to sit right back in there. All right, and I'm just going to give it a hold there for it to tack down. All right, so there is that. All right, look how pretty that is. Now what we're going to do is we're going to inset these pieces back in. So I think putting a little bit of glue inside each of the little strips here is easier, and tweezers are going to be your friend. All right, so you're just going to place it in there and then just use the tips of your tweezers to push it in. Okay. So it's just like putting little pieces in a jigsaw puzzle, all right? It's not hard to do, especially you have those butterflies matched up perfectly. Um, it's just making sure you have the pieces going the right way, all right? It's really not as difficult as it seems. It just takes a little bit of time. So you can see that I've inset those pieces, all right? So, and I just do a few strips at a time with the glue. That one is hooking onto something. There we go. All right, so you can kind of see how pretty that is becoming now. All right, let's finish this off. Sorry, I moved to using my bone folder to push them in only because I was finding my end of my tweezers I was using was leaving kind of a little mark because they are metal. So I went with my bone folder instead, just to kind of push them in. All right, last few pieces. And honestly, it doesn't take that long to do. You kind of get a rhythm going. All right, so they are all in. I'm going to bring that up to the camera. And now we're getting that same kind of an effect as our first one, all right? But kind of a reverse effect, all right? There's a lot more shadowing in this one here. But look how pretty that is, all right? So technique number one, using two images. Technique number two, using one image. All right. So one is a little bit kind of easier to do with the lining up over top of one another, but you use more product with this one. This one here, you can get more bang for your buck with the product, but a little bit more time. All right. And again, two different ways of using the dies. You can just inset that butterfly die on top. And you can do the same filling it in with one image on this one. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's just go ahead and do that. So if I do, The butterfly is the appropriate one for here. If I lay this one on here, all right, so let's just do this one. I'm doing what I did here, but with one image now. Not just to confuse you even more, right? Like, but we want to give you all the options. All right, so this one here, I'm going to very carefully pull off the die. All right, so this one here, again, I'm going to poke all these pieces out. I'm going to lay them. I'm just going to really quickly show you how to do this one. I won't do this on camera, but one at a time, lay them in order. Oops, I forgot this little one. That's 1, 2, that's number 3. Lay them in order. If you do that, then it's less guesswork. Okay. Now, so then this here, I'm going to lay on a white piece of cardstock and then inset them in. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this piece down a little bit. I'll be a little bit more careful this time in my sizing. All right, so let's go 1/8 on this side and 1/8 on this side. And I'm going to take a little bit off the top here. And then this will be 5 1/4. So I've just made this panel into 4 by 5 1/4. Now I'm going to pop this up on top of my panel here. All right, so I think I'm going to use strips this time. So I'm just using a foam tape around the perimeter of my rectangle, my panel here. Sorry, I know I'm off camera here. I'm just going to move this maybe just a little bit more. All right. Now you could do this as a shaker card as well. You could put acetate behind here, and then you can have shaker elements. That'd be another way of using this as well. All right, so I'm going to grab just my bigger foam adhesives now. And you know what? I am going to, because my foam adhesive is exactly the same width as these little strips, I'm just going to put a couple just to hold my image up here. Okay, that is probably more than enough foam adhesive, but if you know me, I love my foam adhesive. All right, let's take this all off. I just don't want anything sinking in the middle of my card. I like everything the same level. Okay, I think I got all the backings off. Okay, so we're going to just frame this onto my A2 panel here. Sorry, I need to stand up for this one. Okay, so there is our card front, and now all you need to do is inset the little pieces back in. All right, so again, I'm going to use my fine line glue and just run a little bead or line of glue, and then we're going to inset these pieces back in. Ooh, That one moved on me. So this is the same way we did on the second technique, but using just the a rectangle. We didn't use the outside die for the butterfly, and we just kept it on the rectangle panel. All right, let me just, oops, I didn't put no glue there. All right, so I could continue doing this, but I think you get the idea. Let me just get this piece in there. And hopefully that kind of shows you. I will continue this off camera, but hopefully that explains how these Eclipse dies can be used. Again, you can do different ways on there. All right, so again, we used 2 images on a panel. All right, one on the bottom panel, one on the top panel, and we just layered them together. All right, so that's going to, it's a little bit easier because you don't have all that gluing to do, but it does use more product. All right, or you could do the one panel, and then just die cut the shape from it and then inset them in. And then of course we have the 2 different ways that you can do it, where you can just use the inside of the Eclipse die on your rectangle panel, all right, which we did on these 2 here, or you can use the shaped die, the outer die, and to create this. All right, so a couple of different ways on how to use these Eclipse dies. They do differ in the looks a little bit, but super fun to play around with, and hopefully that shows you how easy and wonderful these Eclipse dies are. All right, so I'm going to finish these off camera. We'll post our pictures after the video is done when we have sentiments on there to see the finished projects. So thank you for tuning in this morning. And hopefully you love these Eclipse dies as much as we do. All right, that's it for me, everyone. Have yourself a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for joining Fun Friday.